Email marketing segmentation is probably one of the most misunderstood topic in the entire space. A lot of people overcomplicate it and make it so hard to understand that it even seems that you don't even know what you're talking about. In this video, I'm going to break down everything and make sure that you fully understand the segmentation, why you should be using those exact segments that I'm about to show you, and I'm going to turn you from beginner to pro. Plus, if you're already advanced in email segmentation, you will also see some advanced setups that we're currently using to help multiple e-commerce brands scale. Now, this concept is mainly going to be, showed you in Klaviyo, which is email marketing software mainly for e-com brands. But the truth is that these are the principles and segment definitions that you can apply for any niche, any business, and any industry. So let's get right into it. This is going to be the only, I said e-commerce, but the reality is that it's going to be the only email marketing segmentation guide that you need in 2025. Now, why is it important? Mainly because segmenting your email list is key to getting actually good results. If you do it right, the segmentation can help you get more sales, boost your LTV and AOV, send more relevant content to your subscribers, keep your email list clean, and also improve overall deliverability and get higher open rates. And the best part is that it's even easier than you think. Once again, I mentioned that, it is a problem because a lot of people overcomplicate it. They make it, sound like this mysterious secret that only the chosen ones were able to understand and fully explore. But, for other human beings, it's like impossible to understand how to do segmentation the right way. Well, it's completely not true. It couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, if you're overcomplicating it, it can cost you a lot of money. And that's mainly because if you're overcomplicating it and over segmenting your list, you're creating those micro segments, which have 50 people in them. And if you send an email to 50 people, it won't most likely bring any results at all. You need bigger, broader segments. That's why I'm going to show you the exact copy and paste segments that you can use and that we've been using for multiple, 7 and 8 figure e-commerce brands. Let's start with some basics, and once again, this applies to any industry, but it works for e-commerce extremely well. So the fundamental concept that you need to understand is that you can split your whole email list into 4 categories. First one being engaged, then unengaged, buyers, and non-buyers. You have the definition for all of them right there. So engaged segment is people who are engaged with your emails or your store or your business or your website. Then unengaged are people who are unengaged with your emails or your website, store, business, and so on. Buyers are your customers, so people who bought from you. And then we have non-buyers, who are people who didn't buy from you. Once again, as you can see, super simple. Nothing here is complicated, and that's the way it should be, because if you overcomplicate it too much, you're gonna get way worse results. Now, you can still do, multiple splits based on demographics or gender or anything else, and I mentioned these, filters or criteria specifically because a lot of people will talk about segmenting your list based on where someone lives or based on gender. But unless you're, for example, fashion e-commerce brand, which, okay, then it makes sense to send women clothing to women and male clothing to males. But other than that, if you're selling, overall supplements or electronics or, anything else like pet supplies, stuff like that, it doesn't really make sense to do those micro segments based on demographics or stuff like that. Yes, in some specific cases, it makes sense. For example, if you're an international brand and you have only free shipping to the US, then yes, it makes sense to separate the US from the other countries and communicate that you have free shipping on all orders. But again, this is very, very specific example. And if you're running your brand in just one country, or if you're running it online, then really, using gender or demographics is going to be highly specific if you're promoting, offer or product specific to this specific gender demographics. That's why I'm saying it's not that useful. Yes, it sounds great that you can do such highly specific segment and target so many, people. But in reality, once again, 90% of all brands or businesses shouldn't use those because this is just overcomplicating everything for no reason whatsoever. And then even if you do it, even if you create a segment based on demographics, so I don't know, women living in LA or in New York or in London, they will still fall into one of those categories because they're either going to be engaged buyers or engaged non-buyers or unengaged buyers or unengaged non-buyers. You can see any segment you can think of, it's going to fall into one of those 4 categories. In reality, you could even say that they're going to fall into 2 of those categories because they're gonna be either engaged or unengaged, and they're either gonna be a customer or non-customer, and that's it. Okay, so just focus on for now on those 4 categories, because everything else is noise. And as I said, yes, there are specific cases where it really makes sense to do this, but in reality, you will be far better off if you will just follow those 4 criteria. So now let me get into the specific definitions of the segments that you should be using. The opened segment or engaged segment. This one segment is going to be the base for 80 to 90% of all your campaigns, emails that you're sending out to your audience. Okay. That's because this segment makes sure that you're sending emails to people who want to receive them because they are engaged. And also your deliverability will be rock solid, plus your sales won't even suffer. That's because we have run multiple tests for a few brands, and the majority of the sales per campaign would still come from this opened 60 to 90 segments, okay? And yes, expanding further would get us some extra sales here and there, but that was maximum 3 to 5% more sales. Now, what I mean by that is, normally whenever you're sending a campaign and you don't know what segment to target opened 60 or 90 segment, okay? Assuming your deliverability is fine, which is getting at least 40% open rates, or you want campaigns sent to those segments, use those segments and they will bring you 95% of the results. Now, there are once again specific cases where instead of targeting open 60 segment, you want to go broader, so opened 180 or 365. These will be still used by you, but I would suggest targeting those like maybe once per month, maybe twice per month, just to re-engage those people who have opened, one of your emails within the last 6 to 12 months. And when you re-engage them, they're going to fall under open 60 to 90 segment, because the date when they opened or clicked an email is going to be like day 0, day 1. That's why you want to, yes, keep expanding from time to time, but once again, don't overdo it, because if you do, you will burn for your list. Now, this was the base segment, which I'm also about to show you how to create in Klaviyo in just a second. It's super simple. But what I like to do is, instead of targeting a regular or open segment, which would be this one, I like to and recommend to split it into 2 segments, which is going to be opened, X amount of days prospects, and then opened X amount of days buyers. That's because, first of all, that will give you more data. If you go into the segments breakdown, you're going to see, which group actually made the purchase, which is quite useful to see if you're targeting more buyers or non-buyers when you're sending an evergreen campaign. And secondly, whenever you would like to send campaign only to buyers or only to non-buyers, you already have a proven segment already, and you don't need to think about, okay, what should I do? How should I target them? Just use this and you're done, okay? It's that simple, really. So now let's go to Klaviyo, and I'm going to show you how to create all of those in a few minutes, literally. So we go to list and segments, create segment, you name it, VM stands for my agency's name, which is Ventive Mail, where we just, scale ecom brands to 7 and 8 figures every single month. We work like dozens of them. So if you need any help, there's going to be a link in the description. But then you just continue with the name, so opened. And then once again, you want to have all of these. In some cases, you would like to have even opened 15. If your deliverability is really bad, you want to target this highly engaged segment. But other than that, let's just move forward with the open 60 example, which is a perfect balance between having someone who is engaged with your email list, they remember you, the content you send to them is relevant because they know who you are, but also being fairly broad and, not targeting those people who opened an email in the last 7 days. So that's why I like this segment so much. Then you go to someone can receive email marketing. Then you add another condition. It will be what someone has done. You type in opened email at least once in the last 60 days. And then you would click on this. And you would have, so okay, this is the Klaviyo DM account, so you don't have it. But normally you would have Apple privacy open and you would make it false. Okay, maybe I'm gonna change the account to actually show you what I mean. Okay, so we're in the actual account that, it has this filter. So once again, you would do what someone can receive in marketing. They opened an email in the last 60 days. And then you click on this filter icon. You type in Apple, privacy open, and you make sure it's going to be false. Now, very quickly, not to bore you, Apple privacy opens, false or true means that essentially Apple is like downloading the email on their servers and they're marking it as open before user opens it. So they are making sure that they receive the safe content to their users. Okay. That's why you want to have it false, because if it's true, then, most likely, the chances of actual human opening that are quite low, and it can mess up your deliverability, but also give you false data showing that, your open rate is great. When in reality, this would be, false opens or like Apple privacy opens, which aren't actual opens. They are just, like false opens, which doesn't really, help with deliverability. And when I say false opens, it's not like the filter is false. When I say false opens, it means, I should have said Apple privacy opens, but the premise is that if this is like, if the Apple privacy open is true, then these are most likely fake opens. Not all of them, but some of them or most of them. So you want to have this filter set to false. Okay. And by the way, if you want to have the access to all of these, copy and paste segments, so you can just insert all of the definitions. There's going to be a link below this video where you can just go and download it. Once again, it's like completely free. You're just going to get it so you can use it whenever you want to. But yeah, this is the base for the open 60 segment. So then you can go on and click on create segment. And then if you want to do the variations of, prospects and buyers, instead of going and doing it from scratch, I like just to go to the segment that you created, manage segment, clone segment. You're going to type in open 60 buyers, for example, and then you click on add condition, and you just add one filter to everything that you have, done before. So placed order at least once over all time, okay? And then you click on clone segment, and then once it's cloning this segment, you can go once again to manage segment, clone segment, and just instead of buyers, make it prospects or non-buyers. The naming is, feel free to change it. And then for placed order, we only change it to 0 times overall time. And that is going to be the segment for, people who opened an email in the last 60 days, but are non-buyers. Then you click on clone segment and it's going to populate. Okay. So this is how you create those segments. Once again, super simple. If you need, pause the video or, watch it back. If you need the guide, once again, it's going to be in the description below this video. Now let's go to buyers, which is going to be, just another variation of or another criteria or category of the 4 main ones that I showed you before. You're gonna use a lot of variations for buyers. That's mainly because they are mainly meant to be used when you're trying to increase your LTV or AOV, and they target your most recent buyers, but also old buyers, just to re-engage them and boost this LTV. Plus, there are gonna be segments that show you how to avoid overlap to get better and more data, essentially. So this is your base buyers segment, which is everyone who has ever purchased from you. Usually you will want to target this segment at least once per month. I would suggest more often, but yeah, at least once per month to make sure that you're getting those buyers to buy from you again and again and again. Buyers 15, this is the segment that we usually like to exclude from all of the campaigns, mainly because if someone placed an order, we don't want to keep sending them campaigns, promoting different stuff. We want them to get the order first and then promote further. So we usually exclude this segment from the campaigns. Especially, if you're running a sale, you want to exclude it so you don't have any people refunding the orders using the, sale and then buying it cheaper. That would mess up your margins. Now, one-time buyers. So this is the segment that you're gonna be using when you want to turn first-time buyers into multiple buyers. And once again, you can use it with the combination of this one. So let's say you have a campaign that wants to target, you're cross-selling something. You are selling sleep supplements, and you want to, for example, sell, mouth tape or nose strips to make it the sleep even better. Okay, so cross-selling complementary products to one-time buyers. You would target this segment, one-time buyers, which you can even segment further, where you would place in filter for the category equals supplements. Okay, and then you exclude this segment. So you'll be targeting first-time buyers, but you'll be excluding most recent buyers. And if you target them with this segment, any purchases that you make through this campaign are going to be, super profitable, first of all, because you will be making the existing customers buy more from you. And secondly, there will be just increasing the LTV, helping you with the cash flow. Okay, so that's great. And then we go into re-engaging buyers from the last 1 to 3 months, last 3 to 6 months, and last 6 to 12 months. Of course, these dates or like timeframes, feel free to change them. These are usually the ones that we use for our clients, because this window, purchasers or buyers from the last 31 to 90 days, is going to be very useful because these are people who, bought from you recently, but didn't buy within the last month, which means that the chances of them churning are increasing, but you can still prevent it by just targeting them. Of course, you would need to have customer win-back flow in place too, but you just use this segment to re-engage some of those people, and that will help for sure. And then we're doing them where we exclude the segments from each other. So if you look at this segment, it ends with people who bought or placed an order last 90 days ago. And this segment excludes anyone who has placed order in the last 90 days. So this segment does not include anyone from this segment, okay? And the same is true for the last segment for buyers. So people who bought from you between 6 to 12 months ago, but didn't buy from you in the last 6 months, okay? That is what I meant when I said there is no overlap. Where you include all of those 3 segments, there's only gonna be like one person in each of them. So if someone bought from you, 6 months ago, they won't be in this segment plus in this segment. They will only be in that segment, okay? Just in this one. That's why it's so important to include like both or 3 of them when you're, sending a campaign to re-engage buyers, because then you're kind of seeing the data and seeing if it's most recent buyers purchasing, maybe it's older ones, or maybe it's like, quite old customers buying from you again, which all of those are great, and in my opinion, you should be using all of them at least once per month. Then you have buyers reactivation, which is like a little bit more, engaged buyers. So these segments do not include any email engagement data. But then we also have buyers reactivation, which we like to use a little bit more often than these 3. And that's mainly because this segment also includes people who have clicked on your email or, started checkout, or opened an email or clicked it, whatever. But overall, they're quite engaged with either emails or your store, because if they reached the checkout, then, they're very, very likely to be interested in what you're selling. But it excludes anyone who has purchased from you in the last 4 months and is still a buyer, okay? That's why it's called buyers reactivation. Once again, if you send the campaign to, those 3 segments and maybe your open rate is not the greatest, you can use this segment for reactivating your buyers. Plus, this one is for most recent buyers reactivation. So people who bought from you in the last 150 days, but didn't buy from you anything in the last 2 months. Honestly, we're kind of mixing them up usually and just seeing what works best on each account. We have accounts where these 3 segments are performing average, but for example, these 2 are doing super well. So we will target those 2 instead. But if you're gonna see that, these segments are doing extremely well too, then just go with these ones. They are a little bit more broad than the ones that I showed you here, but just feel free to play with them and, use them, exchange them, and so on and so on. Now let me go to Klaviyo and show you how to actually create those segments. Once again, it is super simple. So as previously, you would go to your audience, list and segments, create new, create segment, and let's maybe use the example of buyers. Let's just use this one. Okay, so I'm gonna copy the name, and then for the definition, someone can receive email marketing, what someone has done, placed order at least once, between, you go 181 and 365, add condition, what someone has done, placed order 0 times in the last 180 days, okay? It's that simple, like literally. I know that it may seem complicated, but it is that simple. You would just click on create segment, and that's pretty much it, okay? You would do the same thing for the segments above. You will just need to change the, when someone placed the order. So you just need to change the dates, which is 100% easy, and, you'll be able to do it on your own. Now let's maybe create this segment just to show you, because it seems a little bit more complicated, but in reality, it's super simple as well, okay? So I'm just gonna paste the name, because why not? Then, someone can receive email marketing and what someone has done, placed order, or let's do open email. So I follow the, exact instructions I have here. Actually, it's placed order first. So yeah, placed order at least once overall time. This criteria makes sure that we are targeting existing customers or buyers, okay? Then we have another criteria, which is end opened email. So we go add condition and what someone has done, opened email, not dropped, opened at least once in the last 90 days where Apple privacy is false. I'm not gonna do the Apple privacy thing because you saw it with the previous account. This one doesn't have this filter because They didn't send any emails, it's just a demo account, so that's fine. Add condition, or what someone has done, collect email at least once in the last 90 days, or what someone has done, checkout started at least once in the last 90 days. Okay, so if you go to the back to this document, we have all of these criteria, and now we need one more, which is someone hasn't placed order in the last 4 months. Okay, so what someone has done, placed order 0 times in the last 120 days. And yeah, this is this segment. Once again, it may seem like it's complicated, but if you need any help with that, you can either comment below, or you can just download this guide and use those exact, definitions. You can just copy and paste them. Now let's move on to other category, which is non-buyers. This group won't be as advanced as buyers, mainly because your buyers from definition are less engaged with your emails and store. Buyers usually open some emails from you, whether it's transactional or confirmation, they open emails. Non-buyers, not really. So you still want to have a few variations of these, but your base for targeting non-buyers is still gonna be opened in the X amount of days, prospects, and that's it. Remember, you don't want to hurt your sending domain, so you need to protect it at all costs. That's why you don't want to be targeting this segment every single time. Now, it is great to target it if your deliverability is good, but in reality, from what we've seen across many Klaviyo accounts, this segment is going to have very poor email engagement. So you don't want to target it all at once if you haven't been doing it for the past few months. You want to, for example, use samples of the segment and then target just a percentage of those people. Now you might be wondering how to do it. Okay, I'm going to show you. It's super simple as well. So you would go to create segment. You create the non-buyers segment. So the definition will be can receive email marketing and what someone has done, placed order 0 times, overall time, okay? And let's say that after you create this segment, it's gonna be like 100k people. You don't want to blast them all at once. Instead, what you do is you go to this segment that you just created, or any segment that is like, big one, but you don't want to blast it at once. You click on manage segment and then sample segment members. Once again, assuming that your non-buyer segment is 100k people, which is reasonable, and like we've seen accounts with way more than this, we are going to use percentages of that, okay? So you target non-buyers, you would name it non-buyers, sample, and then I like to use percentages, usually. So if it is like 100k people, I would do 10%, and then date, so today is January 29th, 2025. And then the sample size will be 10k. And then you would click on create list, and that would create a sample of non-buyers where, once again, like this is just, my demo account. So there's like weird stuff and some random people. But normally you would create a sample of this segment and you would have like 10k people. And instead of targeting all of those 100k people at once, you would target your sample segment of 10k people. Then you would do the same, but instead of doing the sample for 10%, you would create 20% and you would keep going with then 40%, 60, and so on, where ultimately you would target all of your non-buyers, but you wouldn't do it at once. Maybe it's going to take you like a month or so, maybe 2 months, but you won't suffer in terms of lower open rates or, decreased deliverability. Another segment is potential purchasers, which is people highly engaged with the store. We also have a variation, for the flow of this one. So like this is the segment that we would use for campaigns, which is people who are almost there. They almost purchased from you. So you can go ahead and target them. They are very likely to purchase from your store. But we also have this definition, which is for the flow specifically, where we it's pretty much the same definition, but we exclude people from the cart and browser element flows inside the element too. So there's no overlap. And we are using this segment to create our window shoppers flow, which is once again converting very, very nicely. I'm not going to show you how to create all of these. You've seen me create the multiple segments, multiple times in this video. If you have any questions or need help, just feel free to comment below. I'm going to help you out. But other than that, just feel free to pause or download this guide, and you'll be able to use those segments. Now, the last category, which you can't ignore. If you ignore this, your deliverability will be a mess and it will hurt. So I've put it on purpose as the last category because the previous ones, all of those segments, aside from the buyers 15, but all of those segments, you will include them when setting campaign. For the unengaged segments, you will exclude them when sending a campaign. A few of these will also act as your suppression list or just segments that you need to delete for the sake of list cleaning. and saving on your Klaviyo bill. I have a completely separate guide on cleaning your list and saving on your Klaviyo bill. If you want to learn how to do this, watch it right now. It's gonna show up on the screen. Once again, it's like complete tutorial, everything you need to know. But now this is gonna be your base exclusion segment. So anyone who dropped an email, bounced an email, or marked you as spam and can still receive email marketing, you would be surprised how many profiles that could be. So make sure you create this list, and honestly, we don't even suppress this, we delete it right away. So you go to profile maintenance or like settings, profile maintenance, and then you delete all of those people, because if someone bounced or dropped email or marked you as spam, you don't want to be re-engaging them, because you'll either have a high spam rate or high bounce rate, which doesn't make sense. So go ahead, create this segment and delete those profiles. Then you have your regular unengaged segment, where these are people who are just not engaged with your emails, even though they received 10 of them. So the chances of them opening the 11th email or 12th email are super low. That's why you want to, exclude them. And what I like to do, so previously we would run sunset unengaged flow, but right now, honestly, I'm seeing that it doesn't really make sense for the majority of the brands, just because the open rate on your sunset flow is super low, okay? And also, like when someone receives 10 emails from you, it can be sometimes in like 2 or 3 days if you have wrong overlaps and someone receives your welcome flow and abandoned cart and campaigns. You can someone can go from new subscriber to unengaged in like a few days if they didn't open an email, okay? Or like haven't been on the site or whatever. So that's why you want to, it will be hard for them to tend to fall under it if you have this filter. That's why it's there. But overall, you always still want to exclude them from campaigns and only target them from time to time. My personal recommendation is that you not include it, but not exclude it, like maybe once per month, just to try and get some of those people to re-engage them once again. But if not, go ahead, suppress these profiles and re-upload them, for example, for Black Friday, when you'll be trying to re-engage, a lot of people, because this is the right time to do it. Then you have 2 variations of 1-year-old profiles who are not engaged. So this one is 1 year old, no engagement, which once again, I will just go ahead and suppress it, because if someone has been on your list for over a year, but didn't open a single email, chances of them being like, hey, I'm going to open an email from them, are super low. So just delete them, no worries about it, or suppress them and re-upload for Black Friday if you are afraid that, okay, what if they would buy, okay? If you're afraid, just suppress, export the list, re-upload it for Black Friday. Same goes for this one, like if someone was on your list for a year ago, for over a year, but they didn't get any email in the last 1 year, you don't really want to send emails to them, because they'll most likely end in spam and their deliverability will be bad. So once again, go ahead, suppress them. And this is how you would do it. Once again, I have an entire guide on cleaning the list, separately, and lowering your Klaviyo bill, so make sure you watch it. But other than that, this was the last segment that I wanted to show you. If you want to get this free document, or just learn more about email marketing specifically, there's gonna be a link below this video as well, where you can join my email list and just learn everything there is to learn about email marketing for e-com brands, and not only some of the advice is evergreen, like for example this video. So again, if you want to get this document and get free weekly value, sign up to my newsletter using the link below. But other than that, I'll see you soon, and make sure you watch this video on cleaning your email list. Cheers!